Ladies and gentlemen, about a month ago, I tried to predict the entire Survivor Series War Games card, and since the show is scheduled to take place this weekend, now is the perfect time to go back to that old video, see what predictions I made so that we can see how good, or let's face it, how absolutely terrible my predictions were. By the way, I won't be live streaming Survivor Series because I'm going to be at Survivor Series, so if you see me, come say hi. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And don't forget, if you do want more than just the daily wrestling content that we upload here, consider coming over to the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where we upload so much more, like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, PLE reviews, and a bunch of ongoing series like the currently ongoing John Cena World Championship series, where we're watching every single John Cena World Championship win and loss and ranking them along the way. We're doing some cool stuff over on the Patreon. Go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's get started. Okay, let's start things off with the first match that I predicted to take place at Survivor Series War Games. And I'm going to be just straight up super honest with you. I am shocked and still baffled that I got this wrong. I was 1,000,000,000% certain that this match was going to happen at Survivor Series War Games, considering it was in San Diego and considering these two had a confrontation that kind of made it sound like they were going to be having a match in the near future. I am, of course, talking about Rey Mysterio versus Dominik Mysterio, and in my predictions video, I said that it was likely that this match was going to be for the AAA Mega Championship. But more than anything, I was just certain that this match was going to take place. I even kind of considered this cheating to put this in the predictions video, considering they already had that interaction between these two that pretty much told us that they were going to have a match. And when I look at the rest of the year, and even when I look into the beginning of 2026, there is no better venue for these two to have had a match than in San Diego. You got Rey Mysterio, the literal 619, the gem of San Diego. You've got Dominik Mysterio, the new gem of San Diego, and they're in, you guessed it, San Diego. How is this match not happening at Survivor Series War Games? Now, don't get me wrong, I love what they ended up doing an actual program between John Cena and Dominik Mysterio, but even when John Cena beat Dominik Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship, I was still pretty certain that this match was still going to take place. Like I said, I appreciate that they're making a program out of the John Cena and Dominik Mysterio saga, as opposed to it just being like this one-off little mini dream match for John Cena's retirement. But then I have to just question, why even have the interaction between Rey and Dominik when they did, if it wasn't to build up to this match in San Diego? I have to ask the question, when is this match going to take place? Are we really looking at this being another WrestleMania matchup? I guess it's not the end of the world, but I don't even think that WrestleMania is a better venue than what they had here in place in San Diego. I actually thought this was going to be a potential career match for Rey Mysterio, his last match of his career in San Diego to put over his son in their hometown, which now, kind of thinking back on it, actually is a bit of a silly prediction. Like, there's no way that Rey Mysterio was going to retire literally 2 weeks before John Cena retires, because everybody would have completely forgotten about Rey Mysterio retiring in like literally 2 weeks, and that just wouldn't have been okay. But seriously, I still think this is baffling. Everybody, I guarantee you, everybody that made these videos predicting the Survivor Series War Games card, if they made their video like me after these two had their interaction, after Rey Mysterio came back from injury, they all 100% would have predicted this match to take place at Survivor Series War Games, and it isn't. Instead, we are getting Rey Mysterio having no match, which in itself is crazy and baffling. And then we have, of course, Dominik Mysterio having John Cena's second to last match of his career. The next match that I predicted is piggybacking off of John Cena. I thought that they were going to have the John Cena Retirement Tour tournament finale here at Survivor Series War Games, and that the whole thing was was going to be, hey, we're going to have the final take place at Survivor Series, and John Cena was going to come out and have a face-off against them to get us more hyped for the actual retirement match. Now, of course, we know that there is no retirement tournament finale happening at Survivor Series War Games. We don't actually know when it's scheduled to take place. When I look at when it's likely to end, it almost looks like it's going to end the week before John Cena's retirement match. I also made this prediction before we knew all of the tournament entrants. I think we only knew like 4 of them at the start. So my prediction involved 2 guys going to the final that weren't even properly announced in the tournament. I, of course, predicted Gunther because I think everyone and their dog is just expecting Gunther to win this tournament. Again, I made this prediction before Gunther was even confirmed to have had his match against Javon Evans. But again, reading the tea leaves, it just kind of screamed from the top of the mountains that WWE was going to bring back Gunther and put him against John Cena, considering, and I do completely believe this, that Gunther is like the perfect prototypical, like perfect John Cena heel and kind of the perfect final dancing partner for a John Cena. I know all of a sudden the internet isn't in love with Gunther as they used to be. I'm still very much enamored by the man. But here's what I thought they were going to do. I went in a completely different direction. I thought it was going to be the final between Gunther and Ilya Dragunov, and I actually added some extra spice into this. First of all, I didn't predict that John Cena was going to win the Intercontinental Championship in like an episode of Monday Night Raw. I could have never predicted that. Instead, what I thought was going to happen was that these two were going to be in the final, and that right before the match starts, Ilya Dragunov was going to put up his title on the line like an open challenge like he's been doing, and now all of a sudden this match was going to be for the U.S. title, and that the winner would take the U.S. title into the John Cena retirement match, making John Cena's retirement match a match for the United States Championship, a championship that John Cena made famous inside of the nation's capital, potentially in front of the nation's president. We still don't know if the president is going to be there, but I thought all of those like different Americana things were just kind of falling into place perfectly. But no, this is not going to be the final. Gunther is likely going to be in the final. We know that his next match is against Solo Sikoa and likely a final against Jey Uso. Fingers crossed that that's not the case. And Ilya Dragunov wasn't even put in the tournament, which I think is just a crime. Like when you have a guy this good putting just absolute heater matches week in, week out, and you don't put him in the tournament, to me, this was a giant fumble. So I got all of this wrong, aside from probably Gunther eventually making it to the final, but I can't take any points for that. I always knew that this next prediction was a little bit of a long shot. I didn't fully believe in my own prediction when I made this, but the reason why I made this prediction was because it was a long-running rivalry between 2 guys where one was a former world champion and the other guy's clearly getting pushed. I'm talking, of course, about Damian Priest and Aleister Black, and the prediction that I made was that they were going to have, of course, a San Diego City street fight, because you know how WWE just loves to brand street fights depending on what city they're in. I think my logic was that at this point we had found out that Damian Priest came back with the burnt eye, and that, oh my god, here we go, this feud is not going to end, and if they were going to keep it going, I just didn't think that it would make sense for their next match to once again be on SmackDown. I would have thought that like by their 4th match that there was enough juice in the tank to put this on a PLE, and Survivor Series being a big 4 PLE, I thought that it was going to be a bigger card, more than the only 4 matches that are announced for this card. I thought that Damian Priest versus Aleister Black in a San Diego City street fight could have been a great filler match to really help round out the show, but neither of these guys are on the card. I actually thought there was a chance that they were both going to be on the card in a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Undisputed Championship, but that's all out the window with Cody Rhodes now being in War Games. So once again, I'm 0 for 3, 0 points here. I can't take credit for anything here, and they're not even on the show at all. Hey, this next one I actually got right. Granted, it was kind of telegraphed and pretty obvious, but I will at the very least give myself the props in that I did make this prediction before the heel turn happened and before the feud technically really even began. I am, of course, talking about the Women's World Championship match between Stephanie Vaked and Nikki Bella. Funnily enough, when I was making this video originally, I actually had them both in the Women's War Games match, but then I decided to take them out and just make it a singles match. And my logic was that, like, hey, like, there's just no way that this isn't going to lead to a Nikki Bella heel turn. It's like maybe the most telegraphed heel turn of all time, considering she spent like the previous previous like 4 weeks going, oh my God, Stephanie, you're the best. I love your hair. I love how good you are at wrestling. Your lipstick's the best. I wish I was like you. I want to grow up and be just like you. You're my hero. You're my idol. Nobody bought that, right? It was some of the worst acting that we've ever seen, and we kind of knew exactly where it was going to go. And I didn't see anything in the books, anything that was very clear for Jade Cargill. And I didn't think that they were going to leave both women's world champions off of the card. So I figured they might make room for this match, and they ultimately did. So I'll give myself 100% of the points here. The next match that I tried to predict was a match for the WWE Undisputed Championship because, folks, here's the thing. I firmly believed and still believe that Cody Rhodes just had no business being in the War Games match. I was pretty confident that he just simply wasn't going to be in it, considering not that long ago, after finishing his feud with Seth Rollins, he said, I am done with the business of Monday Night Raw. I'm fully focused on SmackDown. And here we are. Cody Rhodes is once again focused on the drama of Monday Night Raw that literally has nothing to do with him at all whatsoever. And now because of that, we don't have either of the men's world championships being defended at this year's Survivor Series. The match that I predicted was Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre, which funnily enough, they are in a match and they are going up against each other because WWE just couldn't be creative and just said, wow, whatever, just throw them both in the War Games. Sure, that makes sense. Let's do it, which it doesn't make sense. But I thought this was going to be a triple threat. I thought, okay, we were going to have like the return of Jacob Fatu, and they were going to continue to further develop the storyline of who attacked Jacob Fatu. They were going to go with the misdirection of it was Drew McIntyre, and then they were going to start to make us maybe believe it was Cody Rhodes, only for it to be revealed that it was Randy Orton all along, and then we would get Randy Orton coming out, punting Cody Rhodes, and setting up their feud to WrestleMania. Obviously, I overthought this and should have just gone with the obvious sauce decision of WWE being lazy and putting Cody Rhodes in a War Games match that he just frankly shouldn't be in. For a while there, it also looked like they were going to be running Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest versus Aleister Black, which, like, again, like, that's just infinitely far more interesting and exciting for us, the fans. Again, it would have been another match. It would have been a match with consequences because of the title, and it would have made significantly more sense to have Cody Rhodes in that environment, and it would have made Cody Rhodes stick to his word of focusing on the business of Friday Night SmackDown, as opposed to getting himself involved in a feud against a bunch of guys on Raw that he has nothing to do with at the moment. Anyways, I obviously ended up being completely wrong about this. Cody and Drew are on the card. Jacob Fatu is nowhere to be found, but this is like 0 points. I can't take anything here. I then tried to predict the women's War Games match, and I was like bang on predicting the women's babyface team. So I said that we were going to have Charlexa on the team going up against Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and I did predict AJ Lee would return, which is still crazy to think about, like just how insanely stacked this Survivor Series War Games team is for the women's babyfaces. Like there's just no way, no how that they're going to lose. So I got the women's babyfaces like bang on, like dead on. The heels I got a little bit wrong, but like my logic was like pretty spot on too though. I said that we were going to get the Kabuki Warriors, which we did. I said that we would get the girls from the Judgment Day, which we didn't, and Becky Lynch. So my logic was correct. The people on the heel side is who I got wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think even Nostradamus himself would have been able to predict that WWE was going to add Nia Jax again to War Games after such a bad performance last year. Nor could anybody have predicted the calling up of Lash Legend and immediately putting her into this type of match. That's ultimately what they ended up going with. But again, my logic was there. Okay, we need another pair of heels that make sense in this environment, and I went with the girls from the Judgment Day instead. They're obviously not on the card, but I got most of the prediction of this match right. The logic was there, right down to the reasoning as to why Becky Lynch and AJ Lee were going to be in this match. So I got to give myself some props for this prediction. And lastly, for the men, I had some stuff that I got wrong. I predicted that we were going to get Jimmy and Jey Uso, so I actually ended up being correct on that regard. But of course, I predicted LA Knight, which LA Knight I'm gonna say it. He makes way more sense than Cody Rhodes. LA Knight has been feuding with The Vision for pretty much the entirety of his time on Monday Night Raw since moving over after WrestleMania 41. He is the guy that should be in this match over Cody Rhodes. I did predict CM Punk as well. Now, going over to the heels, I obviously predicted that we were going to get The Vision and Logan Paul. I ended up being correct about that. I tried to go swing for the fences here, and I said, yeah, this is where they recruit Austin Theory. That was stupid. Shouldn't have gone with that. And then to top up the baby faces, I said John Cena, and to top up the heels, I said Brock Lesnar. I ended up being correct about Brock Lesnar. My logic in adding Cena here was I wasn't expecting Cena to be going after the Intercontinental Championship and becoming Intercontinental Champion and then defending the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series War Games. I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. But my logic here was that he was going to be added to the baby faces and Brock Lesnar would be added to the heels. And this is where Cena was going to get his back against Brock Lesnar, pin Brock Lesnar so that we could go to his retirement match, being able to put that to bed that Cena was finally able to conquer the beast. Obviously, they went in an entirely separate direction. They ended up adding both world champions to the babyface side. They brought back Roman frickin' Reigns. So the babyfaces are just absolutely stacked to the max. The reason why I didn't predict Roman Reigns was because he said, I don't want to see you guys until Christmas. And well, this is Thanksgiving. So I guess he's changed his mind. He wants them over for some turkey and stuffing. But I guess I got a good amount of it right, a good amount of it wrong. It's not the worst prediction. I think the thing that maybe I swung for the fences a little bit too much on was buying into these rumors that it was going to be Austin Theory, because obviously that ended up being wildly freaking wrong. So overall, pretty bad predictions on my part. I'm starting to see a trend. A lot of the times I make these videos, they end up being pretty damn awful predictions, but it won't stop me from making these videos because they are a tremendous amount of fun to make. But folks, we are going to end it there. I want to remind you that I'm going to be at Survivor Series War Games. So if you see me out on the streets, I'm probably going to be doing street interviews. Come on by, say hello, be part of the vlog. If you see me at the show, please don't be shy. Come say hello. I am a social butterfly, and I will make your experience everything that you ever wanted. But that's it. All right, I'm done. Goodbye. Get out of here.